Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and Michigan's big recruiting weekend has resulted in at least one commit. The Wolverines scored a major pledge on the recruiting trail. But before we talk about that, I want to invite you guys to subscribe to the Wolverine.com today so you don't miss anything from the big recruiting weekend. We have great recruiting coverage, team coverage, hockey coverage now. Anything you want, you can find over at thewolverine.com. Plus, you get to be part of a great message board community over on the Fort. So subscribe today for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year. That gets you through the recruiting contact period, the spring games, summer official visits, all of it today for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year. All right, guys, let's talk about Michigan's newest addition on the recruiting trail, and that is On300 athlete Brandyn Hillman out of Portsmouth, Churchland, a big-time commitment in the 2023 recruiting class. You guys thought the cycle was over. It's not. Hillman was released from his national letter of intent with Notre Dame. Earlier this month, Michigan was the first school to offer immediately after that, so as soon as the Wolverines saw he was available, they jumped in the mix. Now, remember, Michigan didn't take a true safety last cycle. Jay Harbaugh basically wasn't involved with many targets, as Michigan kind of had the mentality of, we're not going to recruit a true safety unless it's a really special athlete. And so nobody really fit that bill. They did recruit some targets early on, didn't really work out, and nobody was rising late for Michigan, so they kind of just balked at it, didn't take a safety at the end of the cycle in February. However, Hillman came available, and he did fit what Michigan was looking for at safety. He is a dynamic athlete. This is a kid that's 6'1", 190 pounds, started at quarterback for his high school team, threw for more than 1,000 yards, rushed for more than 1,000 yards, scored 33 touchdowns, was a second-team all-region defensive back, despite only playing in the secondary part-time. His primary focus was under center. He did get some looks at quarterback. In fact, some Power 5 schools liked him at quarterback. Virginia Tech was going to give him an opportunity to play quarterback, but his highest upside is definitely on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Hillman has some experience playing corner, a little bit playing safety. He's still a raw athlete. He's a guy that's going to need some development over time, but there's a lot to like about him. He is a legit 6'1", 190 pounds. I stopped by Churchland High School last week to get a look at Hillman. Didn't really get to see him move around or anything, but just sizing him up, he is a big, strong, intimidating force on the back end. You can just tell he's really filled out, really muscular build in his upper and lower halves. A guy that, again, is going to need some time to develop, but he has really good closing speed on tape, really athletic. Like I said, you can just go and watch him be a dual threat quarterback, and you're like, man, this guy can really turn into something. And so I think Michigan is a great fit because they do a great job of taking, natural athletes at the high school level and molding them into something at the next level. Being a guy from Texas, I saw TCU take high school quarterbacks all the time and turn them into all Big 12 defensive backs. I think Hillman kind of fits that mold. He was the best athlete on his high school team, so they threw him in at quarterback. But he's a guy that's so athletic and so gifted skill set wise that he can turn into an all Big Ten conference at a place like Michigan. And especially Jay Harbaugh with the eval here. We didn't talk a lot about Jay Harbaugh last cycle because, again, Michigan wasn't going to take a true safety unless it was a guy like Hillman. So Harbaugh did some area recruiting, assisted with some recruitments here and there. But I think a lot of people forgot about Jay Harbaugh. He flies so under the radar. He's not super media friendly. He's not really an out there guy. Obviously, he's Jim Harbaugh's son, and he might get some flack here and there for that. But he's a really good football coach. And more importantly, he's a really great evaluator of talent. Well, more importantly for me, because I cover recruiting. But I love his evaluations. I think out of my 4 or 5 years, however long I've been on the Michigan beat now, the only Jay Harbaugh eval I have disagreed with was Tavier Dunlap. Outside of that, I have loved every single Jay Harbaugh evaluation, including the one of Brandyn Hillman. So I think Jay Harbaugh is an expert at evaluating tape and an expert at finding guys in random areas like Colston Loveland out in Idaho, and an expert at finding just raw athletes that don't necessarily have a defined position, but can definitely be molded into something great. And I think Hillman fits the latter of those two things, obviously. And he is kind of in a little bit of a random area. He is in Portsmouth, Virginia, down here in the 757. Michigan hasn't really looked at this area a lot for recruiting talent. They haven't been involved in many recruitments for Tidewater area prospects. But Jay Harbaugh, despite not really having a lot of ties to the area, despite Hillman being more of a raw athlete, really pressed for him. And I think that says a lot about Hillman as a prospect. If Jay Harbaugh is recruiting you, you can play some football. And so I think Harbaugh did a great job of not only identifying him, but also closing with Hillman. It wasn't really expected that Hillman was going to make a commitment this weekend. There was some buzz here and there, and after meeting with Hillman on Thursday, I thought Michigan had a better chance than previously anticipated. I was coming off vacation, so I was getting caught up on things, but Hillman made it clear that he wanted to take his remaining 2 official visits. Obviously, things didn't work out with Notre Dame, so he told me, hey, I want to make sure this second time around I'm picking the right school. So he was in the process of setting up an official visit date with Ohio State. LSU and USC were fighting for the final OV. And so Hillman's plan was to see Michigan this weekend, potentially see Ohio State the following weekend, and then see LSU or USC the weekend after that, and then make a decision. He told me he wanted to shut it down in the next month and get his OVs knocked out over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, that plan didn't happen. Hillman went ahead and gave a commitment to Michigan on the official visit, and I think Harbaugh did a tremendous job of showing Hillman exactly how he would fit into the scheme. There was some buzz that NIL could be a factor in this recruitment, but I think Michigan does a great job with current players on the roster, and those guys were involved, showing him that, hey, if you excel on the field, you can make money later, and you can make a lot of money. You can use guys like J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum as examples, obviously, and obviously Michigan also checked the boxes as a great academic fit, a great athletic fit. Yes, there was a hiccup with Notre Dame admissions, but that's not to take away from Hillman as a true student athlete. This is a kid that had offers from Michigan, Vanderbilt, Virginia. He's a great student. It's still murky what exactly happened with Notre Dame and its admissions, but who cares? He's a Michigan Wolverine, and he's a tremendous prospect. He is ranked as the number 6 athlete in the country, the number 206 overall recruit in the country per the On3 industry ranking, making him one of the highest rated recruits in Michigan's 2023 class, which finishes number 18 overall now that the cycle is officially over. Now, that's not the highest ranking, but there are some really good players in this class. You have Hillman, you have Eno Etta, you have Evan Link, you have Carmelo English, you have Jair Hill, Cole Cabana. Those are guys that can make impacts early on in their careers. You have guys that are glue guys that are gonna, that have that dog mentality, like Frederick Moore, Samaj Morgan, Amir Herring. So I think this class, while disappointing, especially considering Michigan is coming off back-to-back Big Ten titles and college football playoff appearances, can still make some noise, and Hillman is just another great piece to that class. All right, guys, for more Michigan recruiting information, make sure to sign up for the Wolverine.com today for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year.